Hello, everyone. Today, I want to ask you a question so that you can think about it. And also, I want to share my opinion and to discuss it with you. So, the question is the following. What do you think? Is it easier to find an English teacher or an English tutor if you are a beginner student? If you just start learning English or any other language? Or if you have a high level of language, or at least intermediate or higher. What is your opinion? Well, many people think that the higher your level is, the more difficult it is to find a teacher. And I can see some English schools that show their price for lessons, which depends on the level of students. And this price can be lower if a student has a beginner level, or higher if the level of the student is high. I also hear from some teachers that they say the same, that, oh, it's so easy to work with beginners. Everybody can do that. I worked with beginner students when I was a student of the university myself. And when my English wasn't very good, I still could work with people who are just starting learning the language because it's so easy, because I can explain everything in their native language. I don't need to know some difficult vocabulary or some complicated grammar. Everything is simple, and we just learn the alphabet or the list of irregular verbs or something like that. And now many teachers, many experienced teachers say, and now, when I've been working as an English teacher for so many years, it's boring for me to work with beginners. That's why now I teach intermediate students. I teach groups of upper intermediate or advanced learners. And in that way, I improve my English too, because I need to prepare for the lesson. I see some new words and I translate them and I prepare and I think. But, my experience is very different from that. What I see is the opposite, is that it's much more difficult and it needs much more experience and knowledge to work with beginner students than to work with students of high levels. And I want to explain to you why I think like that. First of all, I need to say that I've been working as an English teacher for about 20 years because I started right after I graduated. Even though I started earlier, I started when I was on the fourth year of my university. And I started working for a state school, like a school for children. And I worked with different types of learners, with young learners, like children, teenagers, and with adults, and with senior people, with groups and individually, like one-to-one. And I also worked, and actually I'm working now, so I've been working as a head of studies and a director of studies for a while, let's say for maybe 7 or 10 years, which means that I supervise other teachers and I observe their lessons, I give recommendations, I develop different trainings for teachers to help them improve their professional skills and to help them teach better. And what I notice is that teachers who think that working with beginners is easier are the teachers that don't know much about methodology and about teaching. So if you hear from a teacher this information that, working with beginners is easier. As a rule, okay, maybe not 100%. I don't want to create this stereotype, but in most cases, these teachers don't know much about teaching. Why? When students reach intermediate or higher levels, as a rule, they know how to learn the language. They have enough experience. They know what works better for them. They know how to do it. They are used to some types of exercises or activities at the lesson. They know how to learn new words or how new words are learned, how to remember them. So, for teachers who work with intermediate students, upper intermediate, and advanced students, it's much easier because they don't need to explain how to do the tasks. They don't need to work with these changes in motivation, because if people have already achieved a high level of another language, it means they are motivated enough and they have already seen their progress. It's easier for them to continue. They don't need to think how to speak during the lesson, because more or less people understand what you are saying. You don't need to work hard to find the right materials, because you just need to find something interesting, and in most cases your students will understand you, or with your help they will understand some authentic materials, or most texts, let's say, they will be able to read and to understand. That's why I do think that it is much easier to work with students of high levels. When it comes to beginners, first of all, it's very important how you start. Your motivation isn't stable, and you need to find a teacher who won't overwhelm you, which means who won't give you too much work, who won't make you do a lot of tasks between the lessons. What I hear a lot from different adults who had previous experience of learning English is that teachers gave them long lists of words and they had to learn them by their next meeting. They had to do lots of boring exercises or to read texts that they didn't understand. And of course, their motivation vanished. Yeah, they didn't have their motivation very, very soon. We are all adults, so we have a lot of other things in our lives. We have our families, we have work, so people have their own work because they need to earn money. They have hobbies and they need some time to relax, to have rest. They can't do exercises every day for hours, right? And many teachers don't understand that. Okay, that's another topic. But it's important to find a teacher who won't overwhelm you, who won't give you too much, and at the same time, who knows what is the most useful for you. Because if you start learning the language in a right way, it will be easier for you in the long run. It will be easier for you in some time to continue, because you will know what works better. And what works the best is what is called in methodology comprehensible input. I'll explain in easier words. It means if you are learning English, you need to hear a lot of English, a lot of things in English. You need to watch a lot of videos or to hear a lot of podcasts, or you need to hear other people who speak English. Where can you find these people? At the lessons. These are your teachers. So your teachers should be those people who use a lot of English, who speak a lot of English with you. But the first word, comprehensible. means that you need to understand what you hear. You need to understand English that you are listening to. So if you come to an English lesson as a beginner, you need to hear a lot of English and you need to understand it. But how is it possible if you've never learned the language? How can you understand it? And this is the professionalism and the skill of a teacher to be able to speak English in that way so that beginners can understand it. Okay, now I'm not speaking easy English. Yeah, I'm not talking in a way that beginners can understand me. Now I'm talking for talking to be understood by pre-intermediate, okay, pre-intermediate students at least. But when I conduct a lesson, yeah, when I have a lesson with beginners, I speak differently. I speak slowly. I use very simple words. I make pauses between words. My pace is different. My vocabulary is different. And I know exactly which words to use and which words I shouldn't use with beginners. So that if I want them to understand me, yeah? And I try to speak English most of the time. Of course, if it's necessary, if I understand that it's crucial, I will translate. It's not a problem. I will translate and I can say something in another language, but just a little bit, like just a few sentences, if it's really necessary. But mostly I speak English during the lesson, even with beginner students. And what do you think why I can do that? Because I have some experience, because I've worked a lot with beginner students and I know how they start, which words they learn faster, which words are easier for them to understand, which grammar structures I can explain using some model situations, let's say, yeah. And pictures, I use pictures a lot. And this is much more difficult. This is much harder than teaching students who already speak English well. I do have students of high levels as well. With some of them, we work on grammar and we analyze and discuss and try to use some difficult, complicated grammar structures. And with some of them, we just speak or watch some videos and discuss them. And of course, it's much easier for me. I don't need to think so much and to pay so much attention during the lesson to what I'm saying and what we are doing. One more thing is that you need to make your lessons interesting. At least you need to try to make them interesting for your learners. I hope my lessons are interesting for you guys. But they need to be useful as well. So you don't need to talk about something unreal. Yes, you need to speak about things that your students may encounter in real life, may see in real life, like cafes, restaurants, hobbies, things that they do every day, conversations about weekends and other stuff. So all this together needs a lot of consideration, preparation, and experience. That's why I do believe that it is more difficult for students to find teachers of English or any other foreign language if they just start learning the language. And for teachers, it's easier to work with high levels, and it's better if you are a beginner teacher, it's better to start working with students who can already speak the language. And then gradually you need to start working with students who are beginners because it's much more complicated. That's my opinion. Do you agree with me? If you have any other thoughts on this, or if you disagree and you want to discuss it, you can leave a comment or you can text me and we can talk about it next time when we have a lesson. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.